Hi, everybody. I am Elaine Hill, and I I am apparently the oldest person in this group, but that's okay. I'll take it. So I've had a lot of jobs since my degree, and um, I'll kind of tell you where I am now. And if anybody has further questions later, we can talk about the various ways it has played out. So what I am doing right now is actually using my degree. I got my master's in English linguistics, and so I am teaching English as a second language and really enjoying it. As well as I'm also a performance artist, poet, spoken word artist. So those are kind of the two of the things that I find myself dabbling in these days with my English degree, and I'm finding it lovely. So what I found after spending some time with this English degree and kind of navigating the the benefits are alarming. It's amazing out in the real world. Uh, I'm not saying this in a judgmental way, but how well an English degree prepares you to be a functioning member of society. The things that have been most useful to me, I'll give you an example. When I joined the spoken word community, there's a genre there that is new, culturally new, and also it's just new. And with the training that I've received with an English degree, I was able to learn to adapt to the genre. I actually have a t-shirt I thought about wearing today, but I decided to dress it up a little bit. This says you can't go wrong when you know how to write. And that's the beauty of an English degree is you're learning skills that are necessary for anything. I've many of my coaches, many of my friends are like, listen, like you can write yourself in to anything, because that's the power of honing that skill and getting good at that, as well as being able to learn to adapt to genres. Because really any work that you're doing, if it involves writing, is all it is just like, okay, what are the requirements for this specific thing that you're doing, and then from there you can create, right? So that creative process, that learning how to argue, like create those arguments, these are the basic skills for pretty much anything you want to jump into. I've only tested it in the things that I've worked on in my life, but I'm pretty certain that this is a theory that can be expanded. So that's kind of, for me, the English degree, with being able to adapt to any genre. And then just like the fact that if you know how to write, you've got what it takes. Like I've written curriculums in various degrees as teachers. And just like the things that it's just been like, this has come in ridiculously useful, have been astounding. So fun story. I almost got a house because of my English degree. So in the process of getting houses, buying houses, especially in this market these days, you completely have to, well, you don't have to, but you put in the offer, and it's really a competitive, because it's a seller's market. So it's a competitive market. So when you're trying to buy, it's like, oh gosh. So I ended up, whenever I put in offers, I would send them a letter about, like, and I would tell my story about why this house would be exactly it. And I have a family, so I would like be like, oh, and I can see my kids doing this, and I would say the things that would appeal to whatever. And there was one house I was looking at, and it was a trust situation. So the lady had died, so it was the 4 kids, and I had 2 of the kids. Obviously kids were adults at this time, but I had 2 of the offspring convinced that I needed to buy the house, even though my offer wasn't the highest and best, right? Like my realtor was like, you almost got that house just by your cover letter alone. I'm like, well, so I consider that to be kind of a fun fact. It's a skill that definitely serves. I guess Yes. And then the comment on the English degree, I guess, is the last thing that I'll chat on. The job that I have now, my boss, my employer, actually wanted to give me the job before I was ready to have the job because she saw my degree and she's like, oh my gosh, you can teach English as a second language and that's what we need. And I'm like, well, let me do some other things first. And then I rolled into this job and I'm finding it absolutely fun and amazing. And I love working individually because I have smaller groups with the students and kind of navigating all of that from the beginner's perspective. Super amazing. But it was the only time really that my English degree has been commented on was like, you are qualified for this job that I have. And I'm like, I am. Oh yeah, yeah, I am, of course. So maybe it took some convincing, but so yes, so English degree, like it's been so fun to kind of see the inherent skills that come without us really realizing, like, sure, maybe we're reading literature and all of this. And it's also amusing because most of the literature out there is not going to be half as hard as most of the literature that you end up reading in your English degree. And that's good because then you've trained your mind here. So then when you have to kind of go down here, you're just like, oh, this is a different genre and I can adapt to this. So your brain is already learning that there's different ways to kind of access language. And that doesn't make one better or worse, but it's also like there are different ways and you've got if you're at this high tier, like, oh yeah, you can dabble down here, but if you start here and you're trying to go up here, you're like, well, this is hard. But we've literally been training our minds and our receptors to kind of be like, yes, this is normal. So anything below this is just like we got this in our sleep yesterday. So yeah, thank you for having me today too, Dr. Miller. And it's good to see so many familiar faces.